What is the distinction between mind and consciousness, and how can I discern this difference through my own experience, inner experiments? So from that sense, like as somebody had mentioned, consciousness is the underlying basis in which the mind appears and disappears, meaning the coming and going of the mind is known, or the background screen is there, like a movie projector, that screen is always there. So people can come and go. People, or the scenes have the things are, so the scenes are happening where it is happening in the mind. Now this point here is quite good. Now I'd asked one more point, not many actually address that. How can I discern the difference through my own experience and inner experiments? Like we are saying here, right, that the consciousness and the mind. So how can I know that? How can I experience that? Or how can I experiment with that rather? So this is where, we can say that that thoughts, when they come, what is the difference between the knowingness that is experienced in the thoughts and the knowing that is experienced from that consciousness, from our own experience? Meaning, how can we say this is knowing is from the mind? Or at what point can we say this is through consciousness, this is through mind? See, when you see this, this, when you say it's a pen, so that is objective knowing. So this is very simple. We are doing this all the time. Like this is a pen, this is a thing. So in seeing this thing, we are not seeing really that. Seeingness is not where our attention goes to. Our attention is going to labeling it. This is like that is like that, and all that, right? And even with people, we are like that, right? When we see somebody, our immediate thing is, oh, this person, I like him, I don't like him, or he is so and all that. So, of course, the one there also, there are two levels. One is where, it is based on just a mind operating or doing what it is doing. And the other one is mind projecting. There are two levels of thing. Like one, what we call the Vyavaharika Satta, Pratibhasika Satta. The Vyavaharika Satta, I say this is a pen because it is something I have realized. But let us say something about this pen I don't like, or something that has happened with this pen. Then there is a mental projection that comes. So that both of this are from the mind. From the point of consciousness, both of this for the mind. So, but in that is where, that quote from Buddha, in that seeing, that only that seeing, in that hearing, there's only that hearing. So that sense of is where we have to experiment. Sense of pure knowing. When you do that, when you realize that, we have to realize, this is consciousness. I mean, this is that my own Swarupa. This is the real knowing. So that recognition, this is why, what we call, there is a word called Pratyabhijna. What is Pratyabhijna? Pratyabhijna is that it is a recollection, re-recognition. It is a knowingness of what? Not objective knowingness. It is recognizing that consciousness. So this is a practice we can do from our Vedantic point. When we are going about in our day, the mind is all operating and all that. Before that judgments and the thought process kicks in, or at the moment that stops, and then there is a gap sometimes, there is a sense of pure knowingness. And if you recognize that, then you recognize consciousness. So let me repeat this because it's an important point. What is this thing about Pratyabhijna is that how do we discern between mind and consciousness? So the mind is always objectifying, this is it, that is it, this is it, this is it. Now, even when it is objectifying, or especially when it is not objectifying, there are these gaps, or there is these periods where there is a pure knowingness without that mind's commentary or mind's labeling happening. So that is a point where we can recognize consciousness just as it is. And that recognition is an important insight for a sadhaka, especially the one who is interested in this kind of teachings. That pure knowingness and abiding in that, knowing and re-recognizing, repeated re-recognizing of that. That is the means to our distinction. And then once you are able to recognize that, then even during the thinking happening, even when there are thoughts going and thinking is happening, you will be able to recognize consciousness. So the first initial recognition has to be in the point when there is gaps or when there is a nothing happening. That is what is called that gap recognitions, meaning no thoughts, no space, the clutter, that commentary of the mind. So initially it is like that. It is not like that only is the practice initially. But once you're able to recognize that, then when the thoughts are going on, then what happens? There is a background awareness you become aware of. So you are able to recognize this is thoughts, this is consciousness, this is thoughts, this is consciousness, so that you are able to move back and forth. And that is when it becomes useful in our daily life. Until then, what happens? It is not that practical. The teachings are not that practical for us in our daily life. Until then, it is a theoretical thing. So when we are able to re-recognize first in the gap, like that is why we do all this mananams in the mornings and all that, because that at least that ability to recognize that consciousness in that gaps has to come first. Then what happens? Slowly we can use it in our life, and that is the most important distinction between recognizing between mind and consciousness. Okay.